stage, we'll be setting up the OAuth server. In this demonstration, we'll be using Auth0 and Okta solution. Once you've signed up for the Auth0 service, you'll see the Getting Started page. And here we'll need to do three things: create an application, an API, and a user. Let's start with the application. You see a Create Application in the Getting Started page, or under Applications on the left side tree menu, under Applications, we'll also find and Create Application button. We'll give our application a name, and we'll choose the type of application. Our demonstration will be a single-page web application. This will be our Angular app. Now, we have our application. In order for the flow to work, we'll need to set some URLs, callback URLs, and web origin URLs, and CORS origin URLs. We'll do this under the Settings tab of our new application. Note domain and client ID, which are values we'll need later. For now, we will scroll down to the allowed callback URLs and type in the URL we'll be using for our Angular app, which is simply HTTPS localhost. Note HTTPS, not just HTTP. So we'll use the same URL in the allowed callback URLs, under the allowed web origins, as well as under the allowed origins CORS, cross origin. This will be enough. All we need to do is press on the right side button, Save Changes. So we have an application. Next, we want to create an API. We go to APIs under Applications and press the Create API button. We give it a name. And under Identifier, which value will be used as the audience parameter for our authorization call, we want to use our API endpoint. Remember the OAuth2 endpoint we copied from the FHIR server. This is the value we want. So I'll be pasting in the value that we copied from the FHIR server. Finally, we press the Create button. Now we have our API. We want to add some permissions. These will be used as the scope inside our token. The FHIR Smart, the Smart on FHIR scopes we'll be using. In this case, we'll be using user/**, which means all of the FHIR resources will be able to read and write. So we'll give it a description: read and write all FHIR resources. And we'll press the Add button. We can see under the list of permissions, we have this scope that we'll be using to allow our application to read and write all FHIR resources. So we have the application and API. Now we want to create a user. Note that with OAuth servers, you can connect to various other enterprise, for example, identity providers like Active Directory or other such entity providers. But for our demonstration, we will create a user inside Auth0. So under User Management and Users, we'll create a new user. We'll give it an email and password. We've created the user. Now, also for the user, we want to provide the permissions relevant to our API. So under permissions, we will assign permissions. We will choose our API that we just created. You can see the name of the API and the URL we put in. And we see the permissions we gave the API and that we want to give the user. So we click the permissions and add them. And we can see they've been added. So these are the three steps we took for the Auth0 OAuth server. We created an application, FHIR app. We created an API, FHIR API, and we created a user that will be able to use the